You scroll through hundreds of job descriptions, but they all sound the same. You spend so much time on every application, but it doesn't seem to matter. You send off application after application, but never hear back. You thought the interview went so well, but it's a no. You jump through all the hoops. The news keeps saying how there are all these employers that are struggling to find people to hire. So why does finding a great job have to be so hard? It doesn't seem very logical or fair. It's not. The system is broken. It's not your fault. The process most people go through to get a job is awful. But here's the good news. The system isn't very smart. In fact, it's downright dumb. It can be beaten. How? Most prospective employers and employees today are using the same old tired strategies that have been around forever. It's like professional camouflage. Everybody just blends into the crowd. But you don't have to be that way anymore. You can get traction. You can stand out from the crowd to unleash your God-given potential, to help a world in need, to do work that matters, to earn what you and your family deserve. You can do this. You're meant to do this. There are bright things on the horizon for you. This is the way. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the workshop. Get hired fast without settling, getting ignored, or losing hope. My name is Eric Woodard. I'm a high-performance career and leadership coach based out of Washington, D.C. And if you're here on this Tuesday afternoon at the end of summer, so glad you're here live. We've got a great crowd. I see Anna and Dominique and Ron and Alec and so many others joining us. So look, if you're watching the replay, you are also pretty cool. Not quite as cool as Lisa and Christina, who are here live, and the rest, but also pretty cool. Just acknowledge you for being here. Hi, Daniel. Know your time is really valuable. If you would put in the chat where you're from and how long you've been on the job search, because I want to know. Because folks, look, sometimes being on a job search can feel a lot like pounding sand. Sometimes it can feel like you're waiting on a glacier, Rolando. I see there, Daniel in Seattle, right? Sometimes, Tom in Georgia, it can feel like wandering through the desert. Christine in Florida and Katerina in Denver, right? And RC in Seattle and Dylan in Portland and John in St. Louis and Eve in Cleveland and Michael in Illinois. Sometimes Alyssa in Denver and Terry in DC. It can feel like going into an arena. I see you there, Philip in Florida, Stephanie, New Hampshire, right? I see you there, John in California and Lisa in Fort Lauderdale, Christina in Michigan. Sometimes it can even feel like looking into an abyss, Andrew in North Carolina. So who is this for? Hi, Evan in Illinois. If you're somebody who's unsure about the direction you want your career to go, Stephen in Michigan and Mariana in Tampa. If you're struggling to find ways to describe what you do, Lewis in Seattle and Angela in San Francisco. Hi, David here in Fairfax. If you're uncertain if your resume is any good, hi there, Debbie in Maryland and Aaron in Atlanta, and hi, Dominique in Michigan. If you're wrestling with how to follow up after you apply, 4 months, Lisa, I hear you on that. If you're tired of applying and hearing nothing back, if you've been doing interviews that seem to be great and you still get the big fat no, if you're trapped in a job you don't like and you're just not sure how you can escape, and most of all, my friends, if you're losing hope, you are in the right place. I'm so glad you're here today. On the other hand, if you're somebody who, and Jason in Chicago, I know this isn't you, who's super casual about your career, not willing to really do much work, reluctant to take responsibility for the results you've been getting. I see there, Raymond. It's been a while for you. November 2023, time to get you hired. If you're just interested in finding a job to make money, hi, Nathan in Atlanta. Hi, Alyssa. 2 weeks. So I see you there, Nathan, since April. Right? If you're stuck in your ways and sort of closed-minded about trying new things, and if you're unwilling to be authentic, I see you there, Matthew. It's been a year for you. This may not be the workshop if you're any of these things. So what you're going to learn today, hi, Gloria, 5 years, that's a long time, right? I hear you there, Gloria. You must be strong, Gloria, right? How to get hired fast without settling, getting ignored, or losing hope. I'm going to offer you 4 strategies and 9 tactics that you can use to elevate your job search today so that you can do work that matters and pays what you and your family deserve. So our agenda for today, Some of you know who I am. Probably a lot of you don't. Yeah, Matthew, getting ignored is no good. Hi, Mike and Charlotte, right? I'm going to just tell you a little bit about who I am because some of you know who I am and a lot of you probably don't. Again, 4 strategies, 9 tactics. I'm going to have an invitation for you. Like some of you have signed up for this call because you've either had friends or family that have gotten hired real damn fast working with us, or you've heard about it, or you're just curious. I'm going to invite people to book a call. It started there, Jamie. Hopefully you can hear us, right? To book a call with us. We've got Jessa and Jelly helping right now. Thanks, Jessa and Jelly. They just dropped the link in the chat. So if you already know you want to book a call, the only things I ask is you're going to show up, you're going to be interested in getting hired fast, and you're at least open to the idea of making an investment in yourself. But we're not going to talk about that yet. Like people who are interested in that, you go and you book a call and you set up a call with me and my team, but that comes later. Don't worry about that. But just for those of you who like want to get on the schedule now, I wanted to tell you about that. And then we're going to have time for Q&A. Okay, so here we go. Who is this guy and why does he think he can help me find a job? Well, I don't know if I can help you find a job. I've helped a lot of people find jobs. I'm kind of a weirdo. I grew up in Asia, right? Came to the States when I was 17, wound up transferring college 7 times, right? Was sort of lost soul. A little bit of a hard time for Coach Eric, right? I wound up as a scuba instructor on the island of Guam. That was pretty cool. I spent about 10,000 hours underwater with the fish. And that was great, but my brain got a little spongy. And this was when early in my career. And I was like, I got to figure out this job thing. What would be the most prestigious job I could have? And I said, well, that must be something like the White House. So I took out a piece of paper one day and I hand wrote the world's worst cover letter. And I mailed that in. 10,000 hours. That's a long time. That's a lot of underwater time, Kevin. That's right. I mailed that letter to the White House. And I said, dear Mr. President, you should hire me. And this is like the world's worst cover letter. I mean, it was pretty bad. And I figured, well, I'm never hearing back from those guys, but at least that helped me fill my time on a Tuesday afternoon when I was having a dry day. I wasn't underwater. And about a month later, I was going past the Guam post office and the guy came out and he's like, Eric, you got a letter from the White House. I opened it up and it was an internship application. Now, look, folks, I didn't know what an internship was, but I was really good at filling out applications because I transferred college so many times. So I filled that out, sent it in. I was like, I'm never hearing from those bastards. But that got me thinking. I applied to some grad schools and I got into GW. And so I sort of landed in DC with this big bushy Guam haircut, right? It was dumpster diving for furniture, walking around in flip-flops, and bought a pair of running shoes and was out running along the National Mall, ran past the White House one day. I was like, those White House bastards, they never even bothered to let me know about that internship thing. So I found a payphone and I put in a quarter. I called them up. I said, hey, you White House. I don't know if I called them bastards, but I said, hey, you White House lovely people. I said, what about that internship thing? And they're like, is this Eric from Guam? I'm like, yeah. They're like, man, we've been trying to get in touch with you. You're supposed to start in the First Lady's office on Monday. So I said, that's interesting. So I got a haircut, I bought a suit, and I showed up. Okay, I showed up. And look, folks, I don't know if my politics match yours, so please forgive me if they don't, right? There's a lot of political craziness in our country right now. So your politics or my politics aren't your cup of tea. Your cup of tea, please forgive me. This tells you how old I am. This was back during the Clinton administration. I went to work for Hillary Rodham Clinton. She was a great boss, right? And I wound up on her staff. I interned with her for a while. And then I wound up on her staff, was one of like 2 guys in Hillary land, right? For a lot of the Clinton administration. I followed her to the US Senate, where we represented the great state of New York, right? And then followed her to the State Department, where I did a lot of UNESCO stuff. And then eventually I left Hillary Land and became director of fellowships and internships at the Smithsonian Institution. And all during this time, right, I would see the same movie over and over again, where people at all levels of their career, early career, mid-career, senior people, right, all different disciplines, tech, business, nonprofits, everything you imagine ran into the same issues when it came to a job search. There's nothing about job searching, I would say, in the United States or frankly in the world that's very linear, logical, or fair, right? And it sucks because there's a lot of good people, probably a lot of you who are on this call right now, who have great things to offer the world. And because of this system, it just holds us back. So that inspired me. I started my own coaching practice. I've written a ton of books. I have an outrageous number of credentials and it's all very impressive. I have glowing reviews and you don't care about any of that because what you care about is, can I help you? I don't know, probably, maybe. Let's find out. So here we go. 4 strategies. So Peter says, I'm so tired of all these people who have all these answers, right? The market is terrible for employees. You can't control that. Well, I don't know, Peter. It might be, or It could just be that the system's kind of messed up, right? It could be that the system, Evan, I'm glad that you can hear me. Thanks for letting us know. Okay, so 4 strategies. Here we go. Let's put this in the chat. What is a good resume about? Put it in the chat if you would, please. Let's see if anybody gets it right. I tend to give away stuff to people that get answers right, by the way. What's a good resume about? Put it in the chat if you would. S'il vous plaît, right? Let's see here. So RC says, I smell scammy. Well, RC, I am so sorry I smell scammy. Sorry about that. So Jacqueline says skills. Kyle says 1 page. Amanda says line up what they need. It's not bad, Amanda. Your answer is not bad. Alejandro said, okay, what results you can give her? Rolanda says transferable skills, summary of career, right? I haven't seen the exact right answer yet. Getting read, what's your time worth? Leonard says it's a simple resume, how you can make a difference. Okay, so you know what? We're going to give this to Amanda. Amanda, you actually had the closest answer I've seen because I haven't seen the right answer yet. Why should an employer hire me? Right? Your value proposition. So what a lot of you are saying is a good resume is about you. And I would humbly suggest that answer is incorrect. A good resume is not about you. I like what you're saying about story there, Louise. Let's give it to Amanda and Louise, Jelly and Jessa. So Amanda and Louise, we have a free course. It's called how to make your LinkedIn profile awesome, right? We're going to give that to you. We're going to send it. No, so Angela's saying how you can help them. Angela, it's close, but it's not how you can help them. It's what's possible for them. Because a lot of you are saying a good resume is about you. Nah, a good resume is not about you, my friends. A good resume is about them. A good resume is about the person or organization you're going to want to talk about is yourself. You're going to want to talk about them. And when I say resume, it's your cover letter, your transcript, right? Your follow-up, your interview. It's all of it, right? It's all of it. So Stephanie says, can you attend the course even if you don't win? You know, Stephanie, I like people who ask for things. So let's make sure we send the free LinkedIn course to Stephanie Urshel. We'll send it to you too, Stephanie. We got you, Stephanie. Don't you worry, right? Right? So strategy number 1, a good resume is not about you. A good resume is about them. So many job seekers think an application's about me, right? It's in their cover letter. Me. Let me tell you all about myself. I might even have that paragraph at the top of my resume that tells you all about me. Don't do it, right? Because employers are focused on themselves. So if you want to stand out from the crowd, you don't want to make this about you. You want to make it about them, right? Make it about them. If you get nothing else from this workshop today, this will be worth your time, right? Yeah, so keywords are okay, but I don't know, Jason Lyons, like keywords are just kind of like trying to trick the system, right? It's not about keywords. It's about making them feel seen, heard, and understood, okay? Right? Make the application about them. And we're going to talk more about this. And it's no wonder, folks, that we often think that a good resume is about us because very likely the first resume we ever put together was about us because we were coming out of school. And in school, it is about us. It's our cubby, our desk, our workshop, or our worksheet rather, you know, like our trophy, our transcript. Thanks, Mike. Right? So like in school, it is about us. And yet when we move to the working world, those of you seasoned professionals who know this, right? It's about the customer, the client, the constituent, the shareholder. It's not about you. It's about them. Okay. I got another giveaway here for you. So, hey, Glenn C., you booked a call. Nice job, man. Glenn C., we look forward to talking to you. Okay. So if I went to a public library and, well, any library for that matter, and I saw a shelf of storybooks, there would be some words on the front cover of those storybooks, right? What do we call the words on the front cover of those storybooks? What do we call those words, right? Why does everything, because Stephanie, a lot of what you're reading is wrong, my friend. It's bad advice. And you don't need me to tell you, how's your job hunt been going? Sorry, Stephanie. So Anthony Martin is the first one out of the gate. I see Anthony and John and Gloria. You're the first 3. Anthony, John, and Gloria. It's a title. It's a title. That's what we call the first one. So Anthony and John and Gloria, we're going to send you that LinkedIn course, right? So you're going to get that. But the words we put on the front cover of a book are a title, right? Rolando's got it. I see you there, Teresa and Diana and Tim and Shakwana. I hope I'm not mispronouncing your name. It's a title, right? Now, isn't it interesting that's the same term we use to label people in the workplace, which tells me that just like we might put a label on a storybook, we're going to put the label on the story of somebody's career. And this brings us to stories. Let me ask you another question. I got another giveaway. What percent of human decision-making do you think is emotional? And what percent is logical, right? Is it 50-50, right? 20-80, 80-20? Like, what's the ratio, right? Yeah, okay, Shakran, thank you. I appreciate that, right? What percent of human decision-making is emotional versus logic? So Rolando says 90%. Jeff says 80, 70. So I seen 80, 80, 80. I haven't seen it. Owen says 95. David says 80. Christine says 80. Alvin says 70. I have not yet seen the right answer, right? Laura says 80. Kevin says 70. Why? What? Human decision-making. What's the ratio? Summer says it's 30-70. Oh, Charles Erb. Charles Erb got it right. Human decision-making is 100% emotional. It's 100% emotional, and it happens very quickly. Okay? Right? Those people who, hey, Jessica K, you booked a call. Nice. Look forward to talking to you, right? So a lot of people walk around and they say, well, we make data-driven decisions. No, you don't, right? Nobody does. It's 100% emotional. And the reason we know it's 100% emotional is when somebody gets like their limbic system damaged, the part of their brain that allows them to have emotion, they're fine. Except they can't make a single decision, and that's the debilitating part. Okay, so this brings us to why stories are so important. Hey, Alec O, you booked a call. Congratulations to you. We look forward to talking to you, right? So many job seekers are focused on the facts. And the reason stories are important are stories, as Maya Angelou taught us, right? People will remember how we make them feel, and stories are how we convey emotion. Hey, Daniel A, look forward to talking to you, man. All these people booking calls, right? Stories are how we convey emotion. So you're going to want to convey story in your stuff, right? And if you're not doing that, you're really leaving a lot on the table, right? When you first got on this call today, right, you made decisions about me, right? Whether you like my shirt, the sound of my voice, the music I played. I mean, all those decisions were very quick and they were very emotional. And now you're just collecting data to sort of rationalize like a couple of you, I love whoever you are, right? Said, well, this sounds scammy, right? The guy charges $5,000. It's great. I mean, okay, you made that decision. Like, you don't have very much data, but you made that emotional decision. And now you're probably listening for data to like it's confirmation bias, right? And so just be aware of that. So we want to tell stories, right? Because stories are how we convey emotion, and emotion are how people make decisions. It's not based on data. It's just not, my friends. And the titles that we give to ourselves, right, they define the story that others are going to tell us about. So, okay, so here's a perfect example. One time I was in charge of a program and we were taking applications. Yeah, so I'm going to give Maria, I'm going to tell a story right now, right? Sorry, Nathan. Hopefully you come back to us, right? Okay, so Lisa, we'll talk about AI. We'll talk about AI because I hear you on that, and I just hear you. Okay, so was taking applications for our program, and basically all the applications looked the same except for this one from this woman named Maggie. Now, Maggie wrote how the summer before she'd been in a terrible car accident and her arm had been severed. That's quite a story. So we accepted Maggie to the program, right? And I'm getting ready. I'm thinking about what accommodations this one-armed lady might need. She shows up for the first day of the program, 2 arms. Now, it was bandaged from where it had been partially severed and reattached, and Maggie was doing some physical therapy. She was going to be okay. Was I mad? Of course not. I was so glad Maggie had both her arms, right? And I remember that story to this day. Our capacity for this kind of memory is like 40 million bits a second. Our capacity for data is like 20 bits a second. It's orders of magnitude greater, right? That's how we'll remember, why we remember maybe how we felt on our 5th birthday, but we probably can't remember the names of every friend who attended on our 5th birthday. And of course, some of you can, and okay, I hear you. Okay. Who's this guy, right? Who is this guy? So Mayada said, honestly, it's about who you know. That's interesting. So it sounds like Mayada knows some stuff. Maybe Mayada, what if you're wrong? I don't know. Who's this guy, right? Glad you're back, Nathan. Who's this guy? What's this guy's name? I'll give you a hint. He lives in Idaho. Valerie Pinamonti, right? Valerie got the answer right. This is Napoleon Dynamite. So those of you who haven't seen this fine film, first of all, stop your job search and just go watch this movie immediately. Come on, folks. We're trying to create a society here. And like for those of you who don't know, Napoleon's this high school kid, right? And he basically sort of beats to his own drum. Vote for Pedro, Rolando. That's right. Stephanie, we'll put that link in the chat for you. Thank you. Hey, Gary, you booked a call. So glad. Look forward to talking to you. Right. So Napoleon's a high school kid and he sort of beats to his own drum. In this particular scene, he's on stage and he's in front of his entire student body. And he's managed to get a cassette tape up to the sound booth, but he's basically on the hook to like do a performance. So the music starts playing and Napoleon like does this crazy dance, right? It's crazy. The moon boots are unforgettable. That's right. He does this crazy dance. And and it's just wild. He sort of metaphorically opens the kimono. And when he's done, right, he's sort of panting and sweaty and all of his classmates are like this. And then they burst into applause. And the reason it happens is because of authenticity. Jamie Carolina, the founder of ID Cosmetics, says, everybody's a good dancer if they commit fully. And she's right. This brings us to authenticity. Let me give you not a hint. Let me ask you a question. Who do humans hire? I'll tell you, humans. Humans hire humans. Those of you who are trying to be perfect, I'm proficient in Microsoft. Humans don't hire perfect robots. Humans don't hire humans. Humans don't hire robots, and robots don't hire humans. Now, I can hear you all collectively saying, but Eric, what about the ATS? What about the algorithm? What about the AI? David, that's interesting. People like. So we're going to come back to people. So David says people hire people they like, and I would disagree a little bit, David. We'll come back to this. Okay. Humans hire humans. And so in your job search, you want to give evidence that you're human, right? And look, the thing about ATS, folks, like there is software out there that helps companies sort resumes. It's all different. None of it's the same. And at the end of the day, it's going to be a human that looks at your stuff. So if you've been spending a lot of time trying to trick the computer, like how's that working? The opportunity is for you to connect with a real human. Let all of your competitors try and be perfect and robotic. It just leaves this huge opportunity for you to be more human. The reason people are going to hire you is because of who you are, not in spite of it. Hey, Jason, we look forward to talking to you, right? So David said, well, they hire people they like. No, folks, they hire people they trust. They might really like you. And if they don't trust you, they won't hire you. They may not like you. And if they trust you, they will. So we're going to talk more about that, right? Humans hire humans. Right? The opportunity is to be relatable, be human, right? So perfect example of this in terms of resumes, right? We had a client last year, and she put on her resume, at the bottom of her resume, 2 truths and a lie. She got 2 interviews and 2 offers just from that because it was human, right? Lately, I've been having clients put on resumes the 3 things they fear the most. Gets interviews like that. Everybody else is on there trying to look good. Stop doing that. People don't hire people trying to look good. They hire people interested in serving. Okay. So you're going to want to be authentic, right? I don't know, Robert. I mean, that's an interesting story you're telling yourself. Like it could be true or it could just be made up. How's it been working for you? Authenticity is your superpower. Okay. So let's talk about Abraham Lincoln here. He says, give me 6 hours to cut down a tree and I'll spend the first 4 sharpening the axe. And what this brings us to is the idea of systems. The results you're currently getting are perfectly attuned to your current system. And you've got one, folks. Some of you have the system of, well, it's ATS, so they only hire internals, right? Like some of you, that's your system. How's that working? I don't know. Maybe it's working great. The opportunity is for you to have another system, a better system, right? Rather than work hard, work smart. And if what you're doing hasn't been working, do something else. You're going to want to iterate. There's no such thing as a failed experiment. And what I'm noticing here in the chat a little bit, hey, Alex says, my autistic traits get in the way during interview. That might be true, Alec. It could be true, right? I don't know. Or maybe it could just be, what if it's not true? I don't know. See, the opportunity here, folks, and I've noticed that a lot of people knowing a lot of stuff in the chat, right? See, if we're trying to make airplanes fly or cure a disease, we're going to want to have a system. Right? We're going to want to know, hey, Matt D, you booked a call. Nice to see you, right? You're going to want to know some stuff. But when it comes to this job searching stuff, knowing is the enemy of learning, right? I know it's my age. I know it's the market. I know it's ATS. I know it's this. I know they only hire insert. Like you might be true. And what if you're not? Sometimes those are what coaches call blind spots. I don't know. You might be right. So the opportunity is not to ask the question, what story is right or wrong. The opportunity is to ask the question, what story is useful? Because it's all made up anyway. Titles, organizations, it's all made up. Salaries, it's all invented, right? It's not about you. It's about your systems. So look, a lot of you, this is your current system. And I got to hand it to you. You've done a lot with this. You've tried every setting and combination with levers and the sticky button. And here's the thing you don't realize. This is the system that's available. This is what's available. There are all sorts of knobs and dials and buttons that you don't even know about. And look, you've done a lot with this and you're wondering why you can't steer yourself to a job offer. This is why. This is your system. So you can spend a lot of time and money trying to figure out how to turn this into this, or you could just get some help, right? So how do you put this all to work? Hey, Jennifer K, right? Jennifer K, nice to see you. You booked a call. Okay, so how do you put this all to work? So again, I'm just going to mention this briefly again. I've got a program. I'm going to talk about it later. It's amazing. It gets people lots of results. You don't have to ask if it works. It does. We've got the receipts. If this is something you're interested in, you can book a call. We're going to drop the link in the chat now. 3 requirements to book a call. 1, you're not going to book a call and then ghost us because, as you know, ghosting sucks. Don't do that. You're going to be ready to get hired fast, and you're going to be at least open to making an investment. You want people to pay you money. You got to be at least open to paying some money yourself, right? That's what I'd say. And if that's not you, that's 100% okay. Okay, so here we go. 9 tactics. There we go. How do you put all this to work? Okay. So this is the part of the workshop where, hey, Brian, we get a lot of calls booked today. Hey, Brian, look forward to talking to you, Brian H. So again, if you've been watching the replay of this workshop and you've sort of been having it on the background and maybe you've got it on 2 times speed because you're trimming your bonsai tree. I'm going to talk real fast. So now it's on like 6 times speed. I like to do that to wake up the people in the replay, right? Thank you. Here's the metaphor. Let's say there's a lake and in the middle of the lake, someone's drowning. Okay, they're drowning. Now they're surrounded by other people in little boats. Okay, so somebody's in the middle of the lake drowning and they're surrounded by other people in little boats. If that was a job search, who's the person drowning? Put it in the chat, please. Hey, Raymond O. Nice to see you, man. Nice to see you. We look forward to talking to you. Who's the person drowning? Right? So somebody's drowning in the middle of the lake. They're surrounded by other people in little boats. If metaphorically that was a job search, who's the person drowning in this situation? Sean says it's me. Okay. Gloria says it's me. Hi, Gloria. Right? Hi, Sean. I really hear you guys. Let's see if anybody gets the right answer. So some of you have said it's me. Let's see. There's always a little bit of a delay, right? And you guys are thinking about it because you know how tricky I am. Who's going to get the right answer here? Right? Oh, Kelly Bachlitter. I see Kelly and I see Kelly and I think I see Travis were the first 2. We're going to send you that free LinkedIn course because you're right. It can feel as a job seeker like we're the ones drowning, and you're not. You're fine. You're safe. And I know you've got bills and family pressure and all the rest. If you're on this workshop today, you're fine. Trust me. It's going to be okay. The ones who are really drowning are the employer. And the reason we know they're drowning is they've told us. They put out a job description to say, help, we're drowning. We're the ones in the boat. So the last thing we're going to want to do is roll up to those employers and be like, hey, I'm the best for you. Let me help rescue you. Because needy is creepy. Don't be creepy. Don't do that. You're going to want to roll up to them and say, hey, you're drowning. That sucks. Let's have a conversation to see how we might be able to get you out of the water. What's important here is not that I pull you out of the water. What's important here is you don't drown and die. Right? And this brings us to tactic number 1, which is mindset. You want to get away from any language or thoughts of, oh, I hope they pick me. Because again, as Steve Chandler's taught us, needy is creepy, right? Remember, they'd be lucky to get you, right? There's all sorts of jobs out there, right? There's all kinds of employers. There's only one Steven and Ron and Raymond and Tim. Only one, right? So you want to approach this from a place of service, not selling, right? Selling people is creepy. Like those of you who are like, well, you got to sell yourself. No, selling people is creepy, folks. We've gone over this historically. Right? You're not going to want to, you don't want to sell yourself. And people don't really want to be sold to. They want to be served. Right? So focus on coming focus on your job search coming from a place of service. It's a game changer. Right? It's a game changer. Okay, here we go. Some of you have seen the show Deadliest Catch, reality TV show, Alaskan fishermen on the Bering Sea, right? They're planting these big steel cages on the bottom of the ocean floor with a little bit of bait, hoping to catch some crab. So there's Bob the crab. He comes along and says, whoa, free lunch. So Bob the crab crawls in, and then Sally and Cheryl and all the crabs join, right? And they're, and Tina, and they're all like, and pretty soon more and more crabs join, but the original bait is gone. So one of the crabs is like, I'm out of here, boys. Now here's the interesting part. If a crab tries to leave, the other crabs will pull that crab back in. They'll even pull off one of their limbs. They'll even do a crab murder to keep that crab, because crabs instinctively like to be with other crabs. And what this brings us to is environment. Some of you are having trouble in your job search right now because the system of your job search is relying on an environment that's not serving you. Emotional, psychological, intellectual, spiritual, physical. You're going to want to optimize your environment the extent to which you can, right? If you've got family members who, because they love you, who are like, oh, we just want you to settle, just take that job, it pays you $50,000 less. It's coming from a good place and it's not helpful. That's part of your environment. So look, you can't get rid of your family members. I mean, hey, Monica L, we look forward to talking to you, right? So like, hey, Raymond, I appreciate, yeah, we're going to do the slides. Don't worry, Raymond, we'll make sure you get these slides. Pay attention to your LinkedIn. You'll get a message. A lot of people don't even consider their environment, right? Some of you are like, well, I'm not getting traction on my job search because of my motivation, or I had a bad boss, and if that's true, I'm sorry. And that's probably not the reason. Environment, like eats motivation for lunch, right? Where some of you have heard of the idea of reference groups, right? You're the average weight, income, education of the 5 people you hang out with most. That's what we're talking about here. You want to optimize your environment to make sure that your job search is, part of that's having a community, right? Of job seekers, right? Of people who are on the same path, sharing ideas. You're going to want to have that 100%. It makes all the difference in the world. It's part of the reason clients in our program get hired real damn fast. Topic number 3. Here we go, folks. It's hard to hit a blurry target, which brings us to vision. Some of you may know the proverb, where there is no vision, the people perish, right? We're going to want to have the map before we go into the forest. And if we don't have that vision, it's a problem. Sometimes I'll ask job seekers, I'll be like, hey, how much money do you want to make? And they'll be like, anywhere between $50,000 and $150,000. I'm like, okay. And sometimes they'll be like, well, what do you want to do? Well, I want to help people. I'm like, that's beautiful. And it's super effing vague, right? Right. Like this, like right now, if I say the color red, everybody on this call or watching the replay is now instantly more aware of the color red just because I put it into their brain, right? Bruce Lee said, be careful what you tell yourself because your body's listening, right? This is what we're talking about. You're going to want to have this specificity, or you will literally, not figuratively, but physically, biochemically be blind to it. There's this thing called the reticular activating system. This is what happens when you go and buy a new car and you drive the car off the lot and you're like, nobody's got this car. And then you see that car 5 times. It's because your brain is going to see what you tell it to look for. Hey, Lewis S., we look forward to talking to you, right? So you're going to want to be intentional about this. There's a reason when race car drivers drive 500 miles in a circle that they don't look at the outer wall, because if they do, that's where the car tends to go. So if you don't have this vision about what you can offer the world and what they need, you're just going to drive around in a circle like those race car drivers. Okay, here we go. Here's another one for the chat. If we went to a store and bought this thing, what would we be buying? Put it in the chat if you would, please. What would I be buying if I went to the store and bought this thing? Who knows the right answer? Let's see if anybody gets it right. I want to give away a LinkedIn course, right? So Christopher says a drill. Dylan says a drill. Stephanie says a drill. Sean says a tool. John says a tool, right? Jose says hole. Oh, Jose! Jose got it right. Holes. I'm buying a hole. I don't need this sitting around my garage, right? So Simon says it's a prick, right? I don't need this. What I actually need is the hole. Good job, Jose. We look forward to sending you that course. And actually, you know what? We actually don't need the hole. I don't need a bunch of holes in my wall. What I actually need is a place to put the hook. And actually, now that I think about it, I don't need a place to put the hook. What I actually need is a place to hang the photo. And actually, I don't need a place to hang the photo. What I need is the feeling that I get when I look at the picture of my beautiful family that's hanging on the hook that's in the hole that was made by the drill. And this brings us to tactic number 4, which is giving them safety. Some of you are spending, hey, Tyler C., we look forward to talking to you, right? Some of you are spending a lot of time worried about hiding your age and ATS and the market and, network, the unfairness of it all. Stop. Don't do that. The opportunity instead is to be the one job seeker that can get clear on what keeps them up at night when they're laying in bed at sleep. There's one reason they will hire you, like I said before, and it's not if they like you. It's not your skills, right? It's not who you know. It's this very simple thing. Do they trust you? That's it. And the way we build trust is by making other people feel seen, heard, and understood. And frankly, by being vulnerable. That's how we build trust. That's how we build trust, right? So I'll be really honest with you. I'll practice what I preach here, right? So I do these workshops, and sometimes early on, somebody will say, that guy's a scammer, right? And it really bothers me because I'm not a scammer, right? It really, really bothers me. And so I've been sort of thinking about that in the back of my head this whole workshop as I've been doing this presentation, right? I just got vulnerable. That's true, by the way. Now, I don't know if that increased trust with you or not, but I bet it did. Vulnerability builds trust. So the opportunity for you is to build trust with your employer, right? Again, you don't need to show all the wounds, but show some scars, show them that you're human. It builds trust. It really does, right? What keeps them up at night? What keeps them looking at the ceiling? How can you make them feel seen, heard, and understood, right? You get to that black swan, game over, my friends, game over. Okay, tactic number 5. Here we go. Let's talk about resume. Now, this is a copy of mine. Mine's sort of like a model home kitchen sink of a resume. And resumes are kind of stupid. And they're the least bad way we've come up with so far, right? How do you build trust when they see my resume? Adarsh, okay, so we're going to come back to that question. Jelly and Jess, if you could mark that. That's a great question. Okay, so and when I say resume, it's your cover letter, your transcript, or not your transcript, but your resume, your networking, your interview. Hey, Adrian, we look forward to talking to you, right? So many people are treating their resume like they're following best practices. You might even, and look, I'm a big fan of AI and ChatGPT. I love that stuff. And you may not want to use it for this because it is like a large language model is like the average of everybody. It's like you're going to be the average. Don't do that, right? If you're going to tell the story that you're remarkable, you're going to want to show that. And that's not by doing best practices. You want your resume to look different. For instance, you have hyperlinks in your resume. Do you have evidence that you're a human? Do you have 2 truths and a lie on your resume, right? Do they even read the cover letter? Sure they do, Lisa, sometimes. And if they don't, we'll never know. And what if they do? Okay? So you don't want your stuff to be professional camouflage. Remember that how you communicate, with whom, the format, where you send it, when, it all matters. You want to communicate with them in a way they cannot ignore. Do they even read "Tell Me About Yourself"? Well, not if you're talking about yourself. They certainly don't, right? Yeah. So somebody asks you, "Tell me about yourself." The last thing you're going to want to do is tell them about yourself. That's not what and we're going to talk about this in a sec, I promise, right? Gloria says, how do you place 2 truths and a lie in a resume? You just put it at the bottom. It's awesome. It works amazingly well. People have gotten interviews in my program just because they want to find out what the truth is. Right? One time we had a guy, Gloria, and this is a long time ago, who he put on his resume that he was into LARPing. Hey, Peter, we look forward to talking to you. LARPing. And LARPing is like where people, I think I have this term right, where they go out and they dress up in armor and Nerf swords and they fight in the park and it's like a battle royale. This is what this guy did on the weekend. So we're like, we got to meet this guy. So we brought him in. Turned out he was amazing. We hired him. He's one of the best hires we ever had. Just because he showed that he was human. He was into LARPing. So whatever makes you weird, put it on there. Humans. Yeah, that's right, Jeff. Right? Humans hire humans. Okay, so here we go, folks. If a job application is submitted and there is no follow-up, does it even make a sound? I would humbly suggest that it doesn't. So you're going to want to follow up. And I'm not just talking about after an interview. You're going to want to follow up after your application. And some of you are like, ooh, Eric, that's pushy. Really? Right? If I'm on a boat and somebody's floating face down in the water and I say, hey, buddy, are you okay? And they don't move. Am I going to be like, I don't want to bother them. No, I'm going to jump in the water. I'm going to swim up to them. I'm going to flip them over. I might even start doing mouth to mouth. And if they're like, dude, I was just snorkeling, I'll be like, my bad. But I'll be willing to offend in the name of service. See, in this job hunt, folks, this isn't about pleasing people. It's about serving people. It's not about looking good, right? It's about service. We want to be willing to offend in the name of service. What they think about us is none of our business, right? We want to be so focused on the things that they care about that a lot of the normal stuff you hear about when it comes to job searching, it just doesn't matter. And like, how's it been going? doing the other stuff. I mean, I hope it's been going okay. I know better. Okay. How do you follow up without contact info? Dylan, I love this question. Dylan, how do you follow up? Well, Dylan, I have a deal for you. Here's what you're going to do, Dylan. I have a course. It's called How to Contact Anybody. I want to give it to everybody on here, right? So here's how you get the course. Go to my LinkedIn profile. It looks like this. Justin Jelly just put the link in the chat. You're going to follow me, and then you're going to message me the word in LinkedIn chicken, right? You're going to message me the word chicken, and I will send you the free mini course about how to contact anybody. Happy to send that to you. So you will no longer have the excuse of, well, when I apply, a lot of times they don't put the contact info on there. Or what some of you are doing is you're talking to the recruiters. Don't do that. Like, recruiters are like professionally trained ninjas at keeping you away from the hiring manager. Because if you talk to the hiring manager, now there's no reason for the recruiter to have a job, right? And they don't like that. They want to be in there. So it's fine. We can love our recruiter friends and we can circumvent them, because somewhere behind the scenes, there's likely some hiring manager that's pulling their hair out, and they've been waiting. They're kind of actually, frankly, pissed off at that recruiter because they've been waiting forever because they're dying in work, right? Right. And they're like, this one here, Lisa Turner, Jeff Johnson, I want to talk to Lisa. And they're going to knock on the back door of HR, and they're going to say, hey, this one, I want to talk to Lisa, right? Is what they're going to do. And HR will be like, well, we already sent Lisa the no letter. And they'll be like, I don't care. Actually, you know what, Justin Jelly, let's show them the testimonial of Andrew, because Andrew did this very thing. He got a rejection letter, and he was one of our clients, so he ignored it. And this is what Andrew did. If you would play Andrew, please.
I got a job offer thanks to Win at Work. I really appreciate all the help and materials and one-on-one coaching. I applied cold to an organization I was interested in and received the automated response, we're pursuing other candidates. And then there was another posting for the same role or similar role in the same organization. And this time I really used a lot of the Win at Work process. I also really appreciate the coaching I received on interview prep from my coach, Patrick, and the Win at Work materials on interview prep. I feel like I really impressed the HR recruiter. She scheduled me for another interview with program directors a couple days later. They were also really impressed and said I had a lot of good answers, and I really just did what I learned in this program. Make it about them, talk about them, be authentic, and now I have my new job offer.
Yay, Andrew. So he's doing exactly what we're talking about. He followed up, right? He was willing to offend in the name of service, and now he has a job. Okay. All right. On to the next tactic here. You guys are such a great crowd. Now, so some of you, right, have maybe seen the Academy Awards, and you've seen somebody win a big prize, and they get up there, and it's a big prize, and they get up there, and they're like, yeah, I got nobody to thank, and it's sort of awkward, and all the movie stars are sort of like looking around, and no. Doesn't happen like that. They win the big prize. They get up there like, I got to thank this person, this person. They're playing the music. They're trying to get them off stage. When we do great things in life, we don't do it alone. We do it with help. And asking for help makes you look strong, not weak. If I asked you right now, how many contacts are in your, or how many people do you know in the world, right? In your Google contacts, or whatever, like let's say you say 1,000, you probably know more. And I'd be like, that's fantastic. How many of them know you're on the job hunt? You'd be like, well, a good number. I'd be like, well, how many? Well, maybe 30%. Well, how would they know? Well, I put it on LinkedIn 3 months ago. I've made a post, and I would say, so those 300 people would have had to gone to LinkedIn 3 months ago, gone to your profile, and would have had to remember it these 3 months. And now you'd be like, you get a little nervous, right? By far the greatest opportunity most job seekers have, especially people who are a little bit further along in their career, is to use their network. And you're going to want to have a system, right? Like those of you who've been like having a single fishing line where, you're doing these as one-offs. It's like trying to fish by getting the right bait on the right fish at the right time, the right place, the right depth. I mean, you might get lucky, and boy, that could take a long time. What you're going to want to have instead is a system that allows you to filter the ocean. Hey, David L., you booked a call. Look forward to talking to you, right? You're going to want to filter the ocean is what you're going to want to do, because we don't know where the jobs are going to be, and wherever we think they're going to be. Remember what I said about knowing's the enemy of learning? Like, well, I know it's this job. I know these people won't have any connections. Stop. That's why you're not getting traction in your job search. Filter the ocean. Play the game of, I have no idea where the jobs are going to be. It's a real opportunity for all of us, right? And remember, asking for help makes you look strong, not weak, right? When we ask for somebody's help, they know for sure that what we think their help is worth something. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gotten vulnerable and asked for it. Remember what I said about vulnerability, this is what I'm talking about. You're going to want to have a system. No one-offs are required. All right, here we go. We're on to the final stretch of tactic number 8. Here is the best interview advice in the world. Are you ready? I'm about to deliver it. You may want to write this down. Here we go. I'm about to deliver the advice. Here it is. Don't answer their questions. In an interview, don't answer. Now, look, if it's a technical interview, right, where they're like the sprocket of the A plus B, okay, fine. If it's, if it's a black and white answer, sure. Technical interview, you're going to answer the question. But for anything other than that, they're really only asking one question. That question is, can we trust you? And so it'd be nice if, hey, Andrew, we look forward to talking to you, right? But like, it'd be nice if they would just ask that question and we could say, yes, you can trust me. And they'd be like, great, but that's not how society works. So they'll ask questions like, tell me about yourself, or tell me about your proudest professional achievement, or tell me about a time you disagreed with your boss, or, what's your greatest weakness? They come up with these crazy questions, and all they're really trying to really ask is, can we trust you? So rather than ask, answer the question of like, how many bananas can fit in a phone booth or whatever, right? You might as well just give the answers and tell stories that are going to help them build trust. That's how you crush an interview, right? Make it about them in the interview. Like we were saying before, if they ask you, tell me about yourself in an interview, that's the last thing you're going to want to do. And by the way, when you do this, and like we just have the receipts from our clients to show it, right? People who've got, I don't know, hopefully you're not one of these people that sucks. You've gotten to the final interview like 7 times and you've gotten the no. Those are the kind of people we help, because it's in that final interview where they're really asking themselves, can we trust this person? And anytime we don't get the job, it's because they didn't trust us, or they trusted somebody more. And it's nothing personal, right? People are scared. They don't want to hire somebody if there's a risk that, even a slightest risk that they're not going to be awesome. And, then their boss will get mad at them and they can't take their family to Disney, and maybe now their job's in jeopardy. That's what people are thinking about. Okay. Most interviews don't even care about the question they're asked. They're just really paying attention to the mouth words that come out of your mouth so they can judge those mouth words. Okay. Let's talk about offers. Final tactic, offers. A lot of people worry about whether they want a job and they can do a job. And here's the 2 points I would ask you to remember. 1, you don't have to worry if you're qualified for a job. And 2, you don't have to worry if you'll want it. And here's why. 1, they'll have an opinion if you're qualified. Hey, Catherine Z, we look forward to talking to you, right? Like they'll have an opinion about whether you're qualified. They'll have an opinion, right? That's the one that matters. And 2, unless and until you actually get the offer, like you don't know what you're saying yes to. I have a client right now, I was talking to him last night, who got an offer and they haven't put it in writing yet. And so I was coaching him through it, and we're like, yeah, you're going to want to get it in writing, because he's wanting to negotiate before he even has it in writing, right? And unless and until that happens, right, until they've gone through the work to put it together, right? And what's the quote? I forget who said it, but unless we write something down, how do we know what we mean? It's the same thing with job offers. And then once they write it down, then you can live in a world of possibility. We're never going to say yes or no to a job offer. We're going to say, just going to get curious. Well, how can I accept this job given this and this and this risk? And we don't know what they'll say. That's how you handle job offers. A lot of times when people join our program, they quadruple or more their investment in this program just by our helping them negotiate the job offer. It's unbelievable. Okay, so write this down. 4 strategies, 9 tactics. This is how you get hired fast. Hey, Gloria, we look forward to talking to you. I saw you in the chat, right? So like, this is how you get hired fast. Right now, some of you are sitting through this workshop and you're like, wow, I woke up this morning hoping that today would be a different sort of day in my job search. I hope this workshop has made your day different. Some of you have been saying, I've been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting for something different. What if this is the thing you've been waiting for? I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. What I will say is this stuff we're talking about is not Googleable. Okay. And the last thing you're going to want to do is do the same thing you've been doing to get the same results you've been getting. Hey, Megan, we look forward to talking to you, right? Right. You're not going to want to get the same results you've been getting at all. Right. And the stuff I'm talking about here is not Googleable. This is stuff that, I've created through people I've coached, many, like over 1,000 now, people we've gotten hired, right, over many years, over a long career, right? Much of this stuff that you're hearing out there does not work. In part because everybody's doing the same thing. And also it's just really bad advice. Sorry. I wish and look, don't believe me. How's your job search been going? Doing the things that you've been doing, right? So the opportunity for you is to do things different, to focus on this. And you could spend a lot of time and money figuring out how to do this, or you could just like give us a call and we'll book a call and like talk to us, and we could see if we could help you with this stuff, right? Because we talk about all this stuff and this stuff works. And I've only got about 1 million testimonials to show you. Like, I mean, again, the question here is not whether this stuff works. I've been doing this too long and enough people have had enough success. We had like 4 or 5 people get hired last week at the end of August. Like, what is that? It's because it works, right? So Jessie was somebody who was a fairly senior person. She did education stuff or does education stuff. And she'd been on the job hunt for a while. She actually got a couple of offers in our program that she declined and then eventually accepted one. She's now in that job, super happy. Robert was at the beginning of his job search. He was kind of a mid-career guy, and he didn't want to be one of those people that had been job searching for 3 months. So he said, Eric, should I join your program? I was like, I don't know, but like the chances of you not having to search for 3 months is going to be greater if you join the program. He did, and he got hired in about 5 or 6 weeks, right? He's currently in a job he really likes. Wayne got a bunch of offers during his time in the program. Amy was really cool. She was one of these people who had gotten really close on a ton of interviews. And she just was like, I don't know what's up. And Amy's awesome. And she eventually joined our program. And within like 4 or 5, I think it was maybe 5 or 6 weeks, she got an offer and she's there now. It's awesome. Philip was an early professional tech guy. John Marin was a CEO looking for a job. And yeah, he employed this stuff, and he's a super smart guy, knew a lot of stuff. And we were just a few tweaks to John and we got him hired. Angel was somebody who saw this workshop and was worried about money, didn't think she could afford it. And she decided she was going to do something different to get different results. And she got a different result. Jess and Jelly, if you would, let's show them the video of Angel, please. In the time we've got left, I'm curious, especially if there's somebody we haven't heard from yet. They've had a win, a loss. Angel, I got to ask you, what do we know, if anything? What do we know?
I got the job! Yay!
Whoa!
The offer. I'm moving in a week. Yeah, it's crazy. And I know when we first met, you're like, oh, like, let's get something by your birthday. And my birthday is in 4 days, so I was able to do it. Yay!
And I just want to acknowledge you. Like, you dove in, you did it, you did the work.
Thank you.
Way to go.
It would have been possible without like signing up for this program, truly. I think it made the difference for me.
So good, Angel.
Yeah.
Really happy for you.
Yeah.
Super awesome. Congratulations to you. Yeah. So guys, this program works. And Dylan, Dylan was saying, or was it Dylan? Who did he say here? It was Peter. So Peter's saying, hey, buyer beware, be careful. And so Peter, look, man, yeah, there's a lot of coaches out there and a lot of them aren't great. I really hear you on that. And this program isn't for everybody, right? You know, if people are interested in kind of doing what they've been doing, this program, like I said at the beginning, this program's not for you. On the other hand, if you're looking to do something different, this program works. I've helped a lot of people. Hey, Chelsea, we look forward to talking to you, right? Because a lot of you are like, hey, I just want to wait, right? And you're thinking that like, there's no opportunity cost, right? I'll just wait. I hear from people all the time who are like, oh, you know, I'm going to go do this for 6 months. And then I hear from them 6 months later and they're like, Eric, it's not working. And they show me what they're doing and they're talking about the drill, right? Instead of what's keeping people up. And they join our program and they're like, I wish you would have joined 6 months ago. And I'm like, I wish you would have too, right? Because here's the cost, right? If this is how much money you're wanting to make, here's what it's costing you per month, right? And here's what it's costing you per month. No, Stephanie, everybody's going to get access to the webinar. We're going to send around the replay. So Alec, you'll get it too, right? So here's what it's costing you per month. Here's what it's costing you per week, right? So look, if I was to say here, we can absolutely get you hired in 3 weeks, you should leave this webinar. Cause I don't know if that's true, but what I can say, sort of like going to the gym, right? Like working with a trainer, like you can work out on your own and you'll get muscles, but if you do a trainer, you're going to get bigger muscles faster. Right. And with this, it's a little bit different because it's costing you every week that you're messing around with trying to do it on your own. Right. So the course we offer, it does all the things. It helps you, whether it's you don't have clarity about what's next, or maybe you've got trauma from your last job, or maybe you've got imposter syndrome, or maybe you're worried about your LinkedIn profile, or you're having a hard time telling your professional story, or maybe you're worried about your resume or your follow-up or your networking or your cover letter, or you're worried about how you show up in interviews, or you're not sure how to handle offers. All of those things we handle in this program, because sometimes what we'll run into is people say, well, but do you help rocket scientists, or do you help art historians? And I'm like, yeah. And like, I can have an art historian and a rocket scientist in a room and they'll have the same issues. And I can have two rocket scientists that have completely different issues. This fallacy that, well, people in certain industries have the same issues. Nah, that's not my experience, right? We help people at all levels, all industries. Again, there's multiple payment plans available. So for those of you who are like, I've been out of work for a long time, I don't have a lot of money. Sometimes people will ask me, they'll be like, hey, can I pay you after I get the job? And I'm like, no, because I want you to have skin in the game. And that's a disincentive, right, for you to invest in the program. Katerina is asking how much the program is. So if you finance this, it's a couple $100s a month, right? And if we can get you hired a couple of months faster, or excuse me, a couple weeks faster, not months, right? A couple of weeks faster, like, you're going to come out ahead, Katerina, right? And then you pay the rest when you get the job. And that's what all of our clients do. We place 100% of people who join this program, right? The guarantee we offer is that if you join this program, we stay with you till you do. The idea is that we're going to get you hired in 3 months or less. And that happens for a lot of people. And if it doesn't, we stay with you until you do, which means, there's a lot of one-on-one coaching, group coaching, that's led by me. It's not, the group coaching is led by me. I have coaches that help me with one-on-one coaching. There's a course, there's an online community. Like, you get all the things, right? Because different people learn in different ways. So we have lots of testimonials about how this works. So the only question is, are you going to book a call? Like, do you want to keep doing what you've been doing, or do you want to get some help? If you do want some help, I just asked 3 things. You're going to show up. You're going to be at least open to investing in yourself, right? Adarash is asking for the Toba program. It depends, Adarash. It depends on whether we think we can help you, right? If we don't think we can help you, we're not going to charge you a dime, right? And you're ready to get hired now, right? So if those 3 things are true, like, book a call. And again, please don't book a call and like chicken out and not show up. This isn't a hard sell. Like, these are coaches. They're going to help you. All right. Enough of all that. We have some questions, right? And again, guys, I'm mindful of the time, so I'm going to stay a little bit longer. So I'm going to answer as many questions as I can. I've got a little bit of extra time. So let's see what questions we have here. If you would, Jessa and Jelly, put it up on the thing. Yeah, Stephanie, we have all kinds of payment plans, all sorts of payment plans. Adarash, how do I build trust when they just see my resume? So what you want them to do, and hopefully I'm pronouncing your name, Adarash, is what you want them to see is possibility. When they look at your resume, rather, what they want them to see is possibility for them. And the way you do that is you make them feel seen, heard, and understood in your resume. That's how you do that. All right, next question, please. Hey, John G, we look forward to talking to you. Okay, what's the next question? Jessa and Jelly, what's our next question? If we have one. I know you guys are scrambling. You're like, we need to find a question. Well, one question that always comes up that nobody's really asked so far is about age, right? So hey, Anthony, we look forward to talking to you. So sometimes people are worried about their age, right? And they'll do things like all of a sudden the dates off of their years of school will magically disappear. Or, so they get the advice about, well, only put the last 15 years of your experience, right? You know who does that? A lot of times people who do that, or people that have, or say that, suggest that, have about 15 years experience, right? That's what they have. So remember, it's never the scandal. It's always the cover up. So what you're going to want to do, right, is like, look, I'm not going to say isms aren't out there. Racism, sexism, a lot of isms, ableism. The world's not a fair place. I'm not going to suggest it is. And at the end of the day, the reason they're going to hire you is if they trust you. So if we start off by saying, hey, I want you to trust me, but I don't trust you not to be ageist. Like, it just destroys trust. It does the opposite of what you're wanting it to do. The age is something that really comes up quite often that I see. So if you've been hiding your age on your resume, stop doing that. All right. What other question do we have, folks? Jessa and Jelly. Okay. So Gloria says, is finding a remote? Yeah, of course. And a lot of jobs are remote jobs these days. Post-COVID, they were definitely remote, but they definitely are a lot of jobs are remote. And a lot of times people, hey, Trisha M, we look forward to talking to you. Like, a lot of times people come to us is because they might even be in a job, but they want to work from home for whatever reason. A lot of times we get a lot of moms, that kind of stuff. Absolutely. 1,000,000%. All right. Next question, please. Evan, how do you handle the gap in your resume? So it's interesting, like, there's this story out there that for some reason a gap is a problem, and nobody's ever not gotten hired because of the gap. What they've not gotten hired because of is because lack of trust. So if you try and conceal what was happening during the gap, that would be a reason that somebody wouldn't hire you. But like, Like you could just say, yeah, I quit that last job. My time there was complete. I'm really looking for an organization that does A, B, and C like you do. My last organization wasn't doing it. They were great, but not as great as you are. Right? Or, hey, I was taking care of a sick relative. That's a human story that a lot of people that can relate to. Right? I've done that. So remember, like, this isn't about looking good. And this narrative that there's a problem having a gap. And there's also this, I'm reading this book right now by a woman named Annie Duke. She talks about quitting. Right. And so you think about the mountain climbers on Mount Everest, right? Like in 96, there were a couple that turned around, right? And there were a couple that didn't. The ones that turned around, a lot of them lived. And the ones that made it to the summit, yay, they died on the way back down. Like there's nothing wrong with completion and quitting. It actually is a strength. So let everybody else be like all weird about, oh, what will they think of me? No, you can be like, yeah, we could talk about the gap in my resume, or we could talk about what's possible for you and your company. Like, what do you want to spend time talking about? I can guarantee you what they're going to say. Hey, Stephen A., we look forward to talking to you. All right, next question, please. If a job was a bad fit and you left it after a few months, you keep it on your resume or leave it off. Well, it depends, Mike. You could. It depends on the story you want to tell. All right, in your resume. It's optional and it sort of depends on the context, but it really depends, right? If there's opportunity, if you did things in that job that offer evidence that you maybe have a history of success with things that the prospective employers care about, I might leave it on. But it sort of depends. Yeah, that's what I would say. Okay, next question, please. Next question. Hi, Debbie. I do have over 35 years experience in my resume. Nice work. And I've been told that, yeah, that's wrong. Debbie, don't listen to them. Leave it on there. Because what is that, like a 35% discount you'd be given an employer? And I suspect a lot of the professional skills and habits you have right now are from those first 10 years, right? This notion, I keep seeing this on, well, experience doesn't matter. Really? Yeah, it does. Now, that's not to say that we don't want to give opportunities to people who have less experience, but experience matters a lot. So we're not going to make, Debbie, you're not going to make yourself small for anybody. Debbie, let's make sure we give Debbie, make sure you message me because you're coming to us on LinkedIn. Debbie Bluestein, let's make sure we give Debbie that free LinkedIn course because Debbie needs to make her LinkedIn profile awesome so she can show all 35 years. That's what I like. I appreciate that question, Debbie. Okay, what other? Hey, Sylvia, we look forward to talking to you. Gosh, so many of you are booking calls. I hope if I've neglected to give you a shout out, I apologize. Okay, Jeff, how do you handle trust knowing that the corporation will fire you without thought? Okay, so let's pause there. Jeff, I love you, and it sounds like you have some knowing. Do you see the knowing? Right? I know that they'll fire me without a thought. Well, you might be right, and you might be wrong. And the story that you're telling yourself that they will fire me without a thought, I don't know if it's a useful story. I don't know if it's an empowering story. So my invitation to you is like, why don't you work on adopting a different story? Not because what your story is wrong or right. It's just not very useful. See, if I think companies are going to fire me without a thought, like that's scary. I don't know about you, but that scares the hell out of me. That maybe make my job search harder, not easier. It maybe make it harder for me to serve, not easier to serve. And I say that with a lot of love, Jeff. 15 years of loyalty and they drop without warning, right? Yeah, some companies do that. And it sounds like maybe that happened to you and that sucks. And I'm sorry. And it doesn't mean that future companies are going to do it. Okay. The past does not predict the future, right? The past does not predict the future. And so trust, I mean, you ask a real deep question here, Jeff, right? Trust is not an external thing. It's an internal thing. So the issue is never the issue, Jeff. It's how we relate to the issue. And so the opportunity, and this is how we help a lot of job seekers dealing with the stuff you're dealing with, is we work on relating to the issue in a different way. Miracles, doors, and windows open. Hope that serves you, Jeff. Hope you book a call, man. We can help you with this. Okay, another question, please. Denise, how do you explain short stays at your jobs when you're laid off from? You say, yeah, they had a reorganization and my time there was complete. Denise, you don't have to be in the business of explaining yourself, right? A lot of times we're conditioned to think that we need to explain ourselves, right? We need to sell ourselves. We need to somehow explain ourselves. You just don't need to. You don't need to do any of that. And in fact, when we decline to do that, it shows that we have leadership. It shows that we're the one in the boat. They're the one in the water. Not from like an egotistical standpoint, but from a a place of service, right? So Denise, I still love this question. So if I hold the door for somebody, I'm going through a store and I hold the door open, right? And they're look at me like I'm crazy. I don't have to explain myself. I'm like, okay, I'll just close the door and walk away, right? Or like, and we wouldn't worry about explaining ourselves because it's such a form of service that whether they want it or not, like if we try and let somebody in traffic and they're like, no, I don't want, and we're like, okay, well, I'm not going to explain myself. Like, I was just trying to be helpful. See, when we're coming from a place of service, we never have to explain ourselves ever, right? Ever. Hopefully that's what I'm doing in this workshop, by the way. That's my attempt. Okay. Next question, please. Summer. Hi, Summer Song. You have a great name. I hope that's right at the top of your resume because that name is memorable. Thank your parents. Okay. If they were the ones that gave you that name. How can we get attention with a cover letter? Well, first of all, Summer Song. That's a name that's hard to forget. If they ask for just the cover letter and the resume, should we ask for extra materials so you can, and sometimes you'll even, so just because employers say don't intend a cover letter or don't contest, we can just be willing to offend in the name of service. It's like somebody choking and we say, are you choking? And they go like this, right? Like they don't even know what they need. And a lot of times with job descriptions, they'll put up stuff. They don't even know what they want. They're just putting words on a piece of paper so they can send it to HR, so they can get the job posted by Friday before the deadline. They don't know what they want. So the opportunity is to come in there and be a leader. And in the interview, when they ask you some question that's irrelevant, be like, I really hear that question. And the way you're going to want to think about this is this, because you're after doing this and this and this and this and this. And the way to think about this is this, is this, is this, this. Let me tell you a story of how I worked for this company a long time ago. And we did this and this and this and got this result. See, I'm not talking about me. I'm telling stories, right? But it's about them. It's about what they care about. Hope that answered your question, Summer. Okay, what other questions do we have? I feel like answering questions. I'm going to hang around for a little bit because so many of you have. If I put all of my work experience on my resume, it would be 3 pages. I thought resumes were only supposed to be 2 pages. Stephanie, what an interesting story you're telling yourself. We need to get you to Hollywood to be a screenwriter to tell such amazing stories. I've never heard of anybody in the history of jobs, going back to Roman times, not getting the job because of the number of pages in the resume. I have heard people not getting jobs because the resume wasn't relevant to the person they were sending it to. Okay. This isn't about the number of pages in your resume. It's what those pages say and whether each and everything on those pages helps build trust with the person or organization you're sending it to. Trust me, if everything in that resume is about them, it'll be a page turner. They'll wish there were 5 pages. Put it all on there. Okay. I'm going to take just a couple more questions. You're so welcome, Denise and Summer. William says, how do you overcome the challenge of being fired on your most recent role, even with a stellar record? So I mean, it sort of depends, right? But it depends if you were, were you fired or were you laid off? Or did you quit? One way I like to describe it is just, my time there was complete. There were great people there. There were great things about that job. My time there was complete. One thing they weren't doing is A, B, and C. You guys are doing that. And what's especially so exciting about A, B, and C is this and this. And the impact you're making is this. And there's so much potential for what you're doing here. Do you even remember the original question? Maybe you do because it's written down, right? But I just talk about them, right? Whenever they come at us, just be like, I'm not that interesting. Let's talk about you. Okay, one more question. Let's see if we have a good one here. So appreciate all of you. Okay, Madia, I have a good resume, great experience, good LinkedIn profile, but I can't find a job. Well, you might have a good resume, great experience, and good LinkedIn profile. It's not that it's good or bad. It sounds like it's not working, Mayada, right? So it's not about it being good or bad. It's whether it works. It's whether your system's working. And so the way we'll know if your system's working is whether you're getting the result. And it sounds like you're not getting the result. So it might not be working. So there could be opportunity for you. All right, guys, look, I really acknowledge you all for being here. We stayed a little bit longer. So look, folks, if you're looking to get hired fast and you're tired of doing this on your own, you don't have to keep doing this on your own, right? You don't have to keep doing the same thing to get the same results you've been getting, right? If you're not sure how to make your system better, like book a call with us. We can get this handled. This is such a great time to be job searching, right? Kids are going back to school, right? Summer's over, not Summer Song. She's still with us, right? But like summer's over. Like this is literally like this week, the week before Labor Day is literally one of the most perfect times to be doing this. So if you're wanting to get this handled between now and like Thanksgiving, like let's get this handled. Yeah. And Gloria, I'm praying it works too. I'm cheering for you. And I think you booked a call, Gloria. So you're doing more than praying. You're taking action. So Good job. Good job on all of that. All right, guys, I really acknowledge you. Thank you for being here. I am cheering for you, cheering that you get hired fast. You can do this. If you're looking for some help, let us know. All right, guys, take care of yourselves.